So you might be thinking about buying a gun for the first time, and here are some things you need to understand before you go do that, and we'll talk with top criminal defense attorney Tom Grieve. But before we get into it, we have a gun giveaway going on right now. You might not even need to buy a gun, you could win it. All you have to do to enter in this gun giveaway is click the link down below in the description to see which brand new gun you could win. It's absolutely free and it ends really soon. Tom, we're talking about buying guns, and there's so much misinformation or confusion stuff out there about people who can buy them on the internet, or do I have to register it when I buy it, or something like that. Folks who are going to buy their first gun, and let's first assume they're going to a sports shop or a federally licensed firearms dealer to buy that gun, what can they expect?
Well, you need to bring your photo ID. You need to make sure that you have some sort of way of paying for the firearm. You can expect a background check, federal form 4473.
Yep.
If there may be additional state forms, so for example, here in Wisconsin, if you go to buy a handgun, you're going to have to go through the Wisconsin Department of Justice, the Criminal Information Bureau. You're going to have to go through an extra set of paperwork.
And if you buy more than one handgun at a time, there's even more paperwork. There's more that goes on.
Things will be stored differently on the government back end, that's for sure. And there may or may not be a waiting period as well. So you may purchase your firearm, go through the background check, then they may tell you have to come back in 48 hours and 10 days. Check your local listings for those laws, but there's going to be those sorts of things. Without that, and assuming you pass the background check, then you'll be able to walk out with your new firearm.
Yeah, the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, the NICS system, works actually very well. Not surprisingly, I deal with it quite often. I'm not going to tell you how many guns I have. But the idea that you're turning over all your information, and folks, read that Form 4473 carefully. Don't just blindly check boxes as you go down, because they ask you lots of personal questions about your status as a citizen and whether or not you're using drugs. And that's an entire video by itself. If you have a medical marijuana card and you're buying a gun, does the federal government look closer at that or anything like that? So there's other elements that come into play with that. So just remember, it's going to feel kind of weird. You're going to go through the process. Some companies, some stores have it all online. You're doing it on an iPad and you're filling it out that way. Other places are the Form 4473, and you better fill it out in black ink, and you better make the hard copy, because gun dealers have to keep that information for 20 years after they close. That information has to be on hand for 20 years after the gun shop is no longer in operation. So it's going to hang around there. Same thing's kind of true buying online. Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so really briefly, you find a website. There's a number of websites, and you win an auction, or you click buy now, whatever the case may be, after you've signed up and created an account, all that kind of good stuff. The general process looks like this. Okay, I've purchased my firearm, won the auction. Now what do I need to do? Well, now you need to get in touch with a local FFL, local federal firearms licensed dealer, and it needs to be commensurate. Their license level needs to match whatever it is that you're buying. Yeah. So there's different license levels. For most people, we're talking about just a Class 1 dealer's license, an FFL. We're not talking about cure and relics or special occupancy taxes, Class 3 endorsements, all that kind of stuff. So for most people, there's databases online. You can look this up. It may even also exist right there on that particular firearm website.
Yeah, a lot of the websites have a find your local FFL button that you can click right there.
So you reach out to the FFL, you let them know, hey, I just won an auction. Can I do the transfer through you? There's going to be some sort of price that they're going to charge, commensurate with local market rates, shop around, do whatever it is that you want to do there. But once they say yes, then what they will do is they'll either give you a copy of their license to send to them, or they'll ask, hey, shoot an email to the seller as well as to me, and I'll reply all, whatever the case may be. But the bottom line is they need to get their license to the seller, because the firearm's not going to come to you. That's a nifty way of committing a felony under most circumstances.
A couple of different felonies, maybe.
Perhaps. We could play a game of how many felonies can you commit at once.
Yeah.
What's going to happen is the firearm that you just purchased and paid for will actually be shipped not to you, but to the dealer. Then you have to go to your dealer And then that's where you go through the background check process
Yeah.
with them at that time.
Yep, and people need to understand that the purchase of a firearm online from an online firearms broker or site or whatever it is going on out there is not being secretly shipped to you and then you get the gun without your background check or anything like that. If anything, you're doing more paperwork because you're setting up an account with the gun seller and you're getting the federal firearms license, shipping it to the gun seller. They're shipping the gun to the FFL where you go and then fill out your form 4473.
Websites obviously have records. I really, really, really doubt that they're just deleting every transaction off their system as soon as it happens. I'm sure there's a database and all the other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the, again, we're just giving crash courses on all this.
Yeah.
Things and facts will vary with place and time and jurisdiction and local laws.
And I need to reinforce this with folks who say, I'm never going to buy a gun online because I'm going to get on that list. You're already on the list. So if you searched for a gun online, if you did research that said, I'd like to know what the latest Springfield Armory whatever is, you're on somebody's list. That information is out there. So it's not secret. So go through that situation. And yes, you will pay a fee to the federal firearms licensee for them to do the background check. You'll pay the background check fee and the transfer fee and things like that. So anything else that people should know about when they're going to buy their first gun, I'm going to suggest that they also get some sort of mechanism to protect that firearm, whether it's a gun safe or a gun lock. Gun locks come in the boxes with stuff like that now. But don't just buy the gun. What's the next step after you're shopping for a gun?
Sure. I mean, look, if you're an adult and you live by yourself and you don't have guests that come over, particularly guests with children or something like that, that's obviously going to be a different situation. But you know what? Maybe you have a dog that's always ripping things up. Maybe you've got some other pet or whatever the case may be, right? I'm of the opinion that best practice, find a way to secure it.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And I'm a real big fan of read the instructions. Every brand new firearms comes with an instruction booklet. Read that so that you understand not only how the gun functions, because, the average American male believes that he knows how to operate every firearm in the world. And I fell into that trap when I acquired a Ruger P Series pistol and was looking at how to take it apart. There's a little lever you have to flip down inside the ejection port to take that gun apart.
Naturally.
It took me 20 or 30 minutes to figure out how I could do that because I bought it used and I didn't get the instruction book. But you know what? When I went online and downloaded the instruction book, ta-da, I figured out exactly how to take the gun apart. So read the instructions. Clean your gun after you get it so you know how it comes apart and goes back together. And then make sure that you get the proper ammunition for that firearm. Anything else you would give people on you bought your first gun, here's some good advice to get you started.
I think you have to keep in mind what's your intended use. If your intended use is I just want a range toy or I want to go hunting or I want to use it for home defense or I want to leave the home and go conceal carry or open carry, whatever your state may allow, train and prepare yourself for this is what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. It's not, when it comes to firearms, going out there unprepared and just saying I'm going to do it, I'm going to learn from my failures.
Yeah.
Parachuting and firearms are two areas where you just really don't want to be doing that.
Yeah.
This is something where, measure 10 times, cut once. If you're going to be out there conceal carrying, open carrying, test your holster, test your belt, test your setup, walk around your house for a couple days maybe, just to make sure everything works, nothing falls out. Bend over as you would at the grocery store. Reach for the top shelf item as you would at the grocery store. Sit down, stand up, sit down, stand up. Get in and out of your car in the garage or wherever it is that you have. See how everything goes. And if you've got a firearm that keeps falling out of your holster, get a new holster. Or perhaps get a new belt, or perhaps get both, right? That's not a setup that's going to work for you. That's going to get you in big trouble.
And I'm going to suggest, folks, that if you are a first-time gun buyer and you're brand new to this, go to the USCCA blog site and start looking around, nose around in there and get some good, solid information. Oftentimes, Uncle Bob or the next-door neighbor who served in Vietnam is not the perfect concealed carry trainer that you might want to get that information from. So get good, solid information from a reputable source.
And the difference between good information and bad information could literally be life or death, felony charges, you name it. There are times and places where I get it, and I do the same thing where, we cut some corners. We know we should do this, but we cut a corner. Firearm training is not one of them. maybe the free class is the best class. Maybe it isn't. Maybe the guy who charges $200 instead of the guy who charges $50 is completely worth it. Because if you look at the cost of have you looked at the cost of lawyers recently?
Yeah.
$100, $150. Who cares? Get the best training you possibly can.
Yeah, and I would add, always get a second level of training. Maybe not the next step up. Go to 2 different trainers, because then you understand, wait a minute, that first guy was a lunatic. The second guy, he's pretty good, or vice versa. The second guy I went to, okay, now I know what a bad trainer is. I'll go back to the first guy. So very important stuff. Tom, thank you again for being here, for helping out with stuff like this. Always great to have your insights. Folks, thank you for watching all the way to the end of this video. I'm going to remind you once again before we go, we have that gun giveaway going on. It's happening right now. All you got to do is click that link in the description down below, and you can find out which brand new gun you could win. I'm Kevin Michalowski, Director of Content for the U.S. Concealed Carry Association. If you like videos like this, please share them everywhere. Click the like button up in the corner. Click the notification bell. We'll let you know every time we come out with something new. Stay safe.